Welcome back to Stand, where we help make courage contagious. I'm your host, Kelly Chewbacca, former U.S. Senate candidate in Alaska and a government watchdog. I am joined by my co-host, my son, Josiah Chewbacca. So happy to have you with me today. And this is going to be another amazing episode of Stand. We're talking to you today from the 49th state, the last frontier of Alaska. You can be one of our standouts by going to www.standshow.org. That's where you can find all of our fantastic past episodes or our social media channels. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and become one of our standouts. We'd love to have you join us. Speaking of joining us, we're going to have Alan Dershowitz, Trump's former impeachment attorney in his defense trial, also a Fox News contributor and a best-selling author in Anchorage, Alaska on June 27th. Get your tickets on our website, standshow.org. You will not want to miss this amazing event. And another amazing event is our interview today with Craig Compeau. He is a third-generation Alaskan, an amazing businessman, the proud owner of Compeau's in Fairbanks. This is a power sports dealer serving Fairbanks, North Pole, and Interior Alaska since 1945. Wasn't that the Hoover administration? It's a Truman administration a long time ago. You can check out Compeau's services and sales at compeaus.com. I'm going to spell that for you. Compeaus, compeaus.com, because you can get their products even if you don't live in Fairbanks. So why do we have Craig on Stand today? Here at Stand, we are building a movement of everyday Americans who take a stand boldly for freedom, truth, and government by the people. And Craig is one of those everyday American heroes. We've invited him on to share with you what he is doing in Fairbanks at his business and as an everyday American. Craig, thanks so much for being with us on Stand.
Thank you, Kelly.
We're excited to have you. So you're a lifelong Alaskan. You've descended from Alaskans who have come up to Alaska and started Compeau's way back in 45. And you've been able to witness the evolution of the company all the way from different aspects and different administrations and different seasons. But I wanted to ask you just to start this out, because we're going to talk a lot about politics and business today. What has been different at Compeau's under the Trump administration, who I love, and the Biden administration, which I don't love? What's been different from your perspective between the Trump and Biden administration as a business owner?
Well, first of all, we have that in common. I love the Trump administration as well. One thing, I tell a lot of people kind of under my breath, COVID was the best thing that ever happened to our business. There's a lot of businesses that suffered, restaurants, tourism, everything else. The power sports industry exploded everywhere across the country. And it's because people were at home, stuck at home, whether they wanted to be or not. And they were stuck home with the kids. Well, what do they need? They need to get outside. What do they need to get outside? They need a toy, a four-wheeler, a snow machine. And it just exploded. People realized how important family time was, how important it was to spend family time. And nobody was flying Alaska Airlines. Nobody was flying. So all that revenue came in, funneled into the power sports business. And for 3 years, it was just insane. It was exceptional. Even during the worst of it under Trump, when things were the worst. It did carry over in the Biden administration, but I'm not giving him any credit, because we have seen now with interest rates and inflation, and people having to choose, I think it's $1,261 for a family of four. It has gone up. Cost of living has gone up for a family of four. Just since the day Biden took office. So we are seeing a slowdown in our big ticket items, the boats, the things where interest rates are more sensitive. So we're having to market harder and more creatively. And that's kind of what you asked me to talk about was how do we keep that momentum going even that COVID's over, right?
Yeah. So you have a little bit of a marketing genius that you've tapped into. I just want to say for everybody listening that I'm really grateful that Compeau's is one of our sponsors, so you can see some of their marketing genius in our ads at our break. But what I love about you is how you handle political issues with humor, and then you tie that into promoting your brand and your products at Compeau. So you've recently released an ad making fun of government-approved gas can nozzles that empty in over 6 minutes. And instead, you have an exclusive gas can fast pour nozzle called the No-bama nozzle. It empties in only 35 seconds. So we're going to take a second to roll that ad.
If anyone ever told you the government was here to help, look what they did with the 5-gallon nozzle. And these are our fast pour No-bama nozzles. They empty in 35 seconds versus over 6 minutes for those government-approved nozzles that look like some sort of, I don't know, alien contraceptive device. Yeah, and for all you flaming liberal greenies, relax. It's just a red hat. The No-bama nozzle, exclusively at Compeau's.
All right, now that we've seen this No-bama nozzle ad, Craig, tell us what inspired you to market in this way?
Well, just frustration. For example, I've always said, if you know, like it says in the ad, if your government tells you they're here to help, look what they did to the 5-gallon jug. They totally screwed it up. It's all about somebody somewhere did something stupid, so the government said, no, we got to protect everybody. And that's the overreach and the type of regulation and job creating bureaucracy that one device can cause. And everybody knows it. It's kind of the shining example of government is the 5-gallon jug, in my opinion. You can't pour it. So I said, let's make some fun. Let's point a little fun at it. Let's at the same time market something we're selling. And it was our number one selling item on our table at the fair at the outdoor show this year. People love them. And all they do is they look at it. You can just see in their face, oh, yeah, I need one of those. That's great, And it's just an easy fix for an over-complex problem. There's still 9 states it's illegal to sell those in. Not Alaska, fortunately, but that's how screwed up the government is.
Is it illegal because they're called No-bama?
No, that's our name. We've just rebranded them as No-bama nozzles. We have a sticker that says no. I've got people that buy them just to hang them in the man cave because they like to show off the No-bama nozzle.
It's just illegal because of overregulation of government?
Yeah, in certain areas,
wow.
you have to use this government-approved device that, people wind up kicking those cans and throwing them and breaking them because it's just frustrating. You can't figure it out, and then you can't get fuel to pour out of it. And if you can, your clothes go out of style while you're waiting to fill your lawnmower, which is now illegal.
Right.
Mr. Compeau, I'm kind of a budding businessman myself. I want to go to school and study business, and I want to go into entrepreneurship. And I've talked with a lot of business people, and universally, a piece of advice that they almost always give me is don't mix politics with business. But you have kind of thrown that to the wind and just totally mixed politics with your business. What are your thoughts on that? And have you ever gotten backlash for your political views?
We have way more support than we do backlash. When we run a controversial ad, the people that complain are people that have never, we check their names. They've never ever done business with us. They like to complain. Our market is pretty much conservative, outdoor, leave me alone, independent folks. Those people love our commercials, love our products. They understand. And when you say backlash, most of the backlash we get, like when we ran the Don Young commercial, I call it the Don Young, but the old timers commercial around the campfire, the hot dog commercial. The backlash we got, again, was maybe 1 out of 100 negative. We had 100 people saying, when are you going to air that again? I want to see that again. So I don't care about the 1 out of 100. They're not going to make or break my business. But we got a lot of kudos and congratulations. And, hey, that was the funniest thing I ever saw. And I think in this environment, in this political environment, we don't laugh enough. Everything is so serious. Everybody's walking on eggshells. They're afraid to say how they really feel. And we just thought, let's throw caution to the wind, and it's working.
Yeah, humor and politics is a good way to mix. And for those who don't know what Craig's talking about, you can catch that Old Timers ad on our social media pages because that's where Compeau is sponsoring us. That's the ad that we're playing. And that's on our Kelly for Alaska pages. You can click the links at standshow.org to see those ads. We appreciate that. But I think you're onto something, Craig. I mean, something I've noticed is that there's a little bit of a reluctance here in the People's Republic of Anchorage, where we have a lot of far left blue leaders. And it's kind of like living in a city led by the squad. And there's just a lot of reluctance by businessmen and business people and attorneys, doctors, et cetera, to let their color show if they are Republican or lean conservative or support President Trump, because they will be canceled or really persecuted. And, complaints filed against them, or serial complaints filed against them to try and put them out of business. And that they're just afraid it'll make their business suffer. And I was in conversation with one of these people who was trying to mask as moderate or camouflage and just not be at all public. And my argument was, look, there is a huge market for going public with your true colors, and just saying it's essentially a business cost to take on the complaints and the lawfare that'll come. But you will have so much more business and so much more support, because there's nobody out there saying, I'm the guy who, like you're doing, I'm going to, in humor, say, I'm out there, this is who I am, I'm planting my flag on this side of the line, and we need to have a little bit of fun about this. But if you're looking for the conservative power sports dealer, that's me. If you're looking for every other person selling cars, selling services, being an attorney, selling goods, then you can go to every other store. But if you're looking for the Republican, that's me, because we just don't have enough of them. And it reminds me of the Kreiner's Diner story, which I know a lot of people in Alaska know. But Kreiner's Diner is this average, is what they pride themselves on, diner that I love, I know you love, and could go there and eat every day. But when they had the extreme lockdowns from the leftists here in Anchorage, they refused to comply. They just stayed open. And then the city of Anchorage came against them with massive fines. I think it was $10,000 a day to stay open. And this business was going to shut down, but instead this subset community kept them open, rallied around them and kept them open. And Kreiner's Diner is still open today. That's what I'm talking about. That there is a subset of support for people doing exactly what you're doing if they have the courage to take the stand for what they believe. I think that there's a lot of people who want to see business owners having the kind of courage that you have. So Craig Compeau, compos.com. We'll be right back after this break to hear more. I want to share with you more of the humorous and ingenious ads that Craig has produced. So we'll catch those ads right after this break. You're on Stand Show with Kelly and today Josiah Chewbacca. All our episodes, standshow.org, and catch Craig's ads on our social media sites. Those links are on our website as well. We'll be back right after this. Stand by.
You're back on Stand with Kelly and Josiah Chewbacca. Today we are interviewing Craig Compeau, fearless businessman up in Fairbanks, Alaska, selling the most extreme power sports equipments you could ever possibly want, and he's a conservative. Doesn't get much better than that. We've been talking with Mr. Compeau about a lot of issues just pertaining to business models and really just people not having enough humor in politics. And speaking of issues, I'd like to turn Mr. Compeau to a little bit of a heavier matter, not so light on the hearts of many, and that just being the issue at our U.S. border. So we have a lot of immigrants coming over the border, a lot of really desperate people who are in dire situations of need, and then also a lot of really bad people who are coming in and committing crimes, increasing the drug cartel, human trafficking, pushing fentanyl to our children, lacing everything with just horrible substances. What's your take on the immigration crisis affecting the U.S.?
Well, I think it is the number one issue going on currently in this country. I mean, the stat I couldn't wrap my head around was, there's 7.3 million migrants that have crossed the border since Biden was sworn in. That's more than the population of 36 states. I had to check that. I couldn't believe that. More than the population of 36 states just since he took office. We're not vetting these people. We're taking care of them. I mean, we're taking care of all these people, and the cost is just extraordinary, from housing to education to incarceration when they do get I mean, everything is just a major cost that our great grandkids are going to be paying for forever. We have to turn it around. That is number one. Nationally, we don't see it as bad in Alaska. Maybe you do in Anchorage, but we don't see it as bad. But it's coming, and it's coming fast, and we have to stop this.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that you've also taken a crack at handling this topic with humor. And so you made an immigration related ad for Compo's that kind of compares and contrasts legal U.S. citizens with those who've entered the U.S. illegally. So we want to share that ad with our audience right now. Let's roll that ad.
Hey, it's Craig from Compo's. If you've been listening to the news lately, the border, the drug problem, it's pretty scary. But we're celebrating here by having a huge Can-Am sale on all our ATVs and side-by-sides. We're doubling the savings. So if the rebates are $1,000, you save $2,000. If it's $3,000, you save $6,000. But there's a catch. This sale is only good for hardworking, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens in this country. If that's you, we've got your back. If not, sorry, you're paying full price. Compo's, doing business in Fairbanks since Harry Truman was president.
All right. That's such a creative way of taking on this pressing issue of immigration and something that's on everybody's mind, and then using it to promote your sale at Compo's. Is this sale still happening, or is this kind of a dated ad, Craig?
We've just introduced a new ad that's coming out. So this one just ran its course through the end of the outdoor show last week. But the whole idea is, we are giving a benefit to hardworking, tax-paying, legal residents of this country. If you're not in that category, you're paying full boat. Now, granted, we don't sell to illegal immigrants as a rule anyway, so I'm not losing any sales, but it makes people feel better about, you know what? I do pay my taxes and I don't get a free hotel room. I do bust my butt all year and I don't get a handout. So I'm rewarding those people that are doing it right. And it's that simple. And never had one negative comment on that ad in 30 days. I've run into people at Fred Meyer's at Safeway and they go, I love that ad, law-abiding citizen ad. Yeah. So it's kind of got its own legs now up here. It's pretty cool.
That's
and I
fascinating.
thought about it when I first thought about it. I thought hadn't heard anybody use that theme anywhere nationally or anything. I said, yeah, we're gonna do it here.
Yeah, I love that. And it's probably one that you'll be able to run again and get just as much positive response. Yeah. You've even gotten positive response nationally. We saw the interview that you did with Neil Cavuto on Fox. And this one, this one's classic and timeless. So for those who aren't aware of Mr. Craig Compo's national profile, you had commissioned an ice sculpture of Al Gore. Kind of think of it like the presidential busts that you see in a museum. And they did it out of ice, but it had Al Gore's mouth opened very wide. And then you ran was it the gas muffler, the truck?
460 Ford 3/4 ton with a hose coming out. We drilled a hole in the back of his neck, and so as we're playing his Copenhagen speech under green lights, he's belching out exhaust.
Yeah.
And so it was Cavuto. It became the number 2 story on Drudge. It was on Fox News. Got interviewed by Cavuto, but it was also on Hannity. It was on Ingram. It was all over the place. It went viral.
I mean, such a profound way to show demonstrably Al Gore's blowing smoke about the climate change crisis, and you live it daily in Fairbanks, Alaska. So tell us that story.
Well, yeah, and so it was. We're not seeing all the the oceans coming up crazy and all this propaganda that Gore had, and so we had invited him up to debate. Literally got a hold of his office in Tennessee, and they had said that there was a conflict on the times, and went back to my email. We'd never offered a time. We said we can work around your schedule. So it was a typical response. He didn't want to debate the issue, and I had Bjorn Lomborg, Sarah Palin, actually, I think was governor at the time. And I talked to her because we used to support her husband in a snow machine racing, and she was willing to debate him one-on-one on the global warming issue up here. And we had Professor Akasofu from the university who also was engaged. So we were trying to really use a little humor and bring this to the forefront for some real conversation. That was an extremely cold winter. We had 87 days where it didn't get above 20. We had 61 below, so it was great. And it was fun to interview with Neil Cavuto. We got some good airtime, and it was we got a message out. That's what we were trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's really good. You also have tackled the issue of international foreign policy with the Chinese spy balloon. For those who don't remember, last year we had a spy balloon from China travel all the way across the United States. And just for the longest time, our national intelligence community just could not figure out what this unidentified flying object was. And it was over Alaska airspace as it entered the United States. And so you created a video about that, and we want to show everybody that video. Let's roll that video real quick.
So my name is Craig Compeau, lifelong resident up here in northern Alaska. Probably heard about the item that was shot out of the sky, whatever it was. So we heard a bunch of fighter jets last night, and out in the backyard there's some debris that fell down. I've called the authorities, but nobody showed up yet. We're going to go check it out. Oh my gosh. It was from China. I'll be damned.
That is a phenomenal video, Mr. Craig.
Yeah.
What inspired you to make this video about the spy balloons?
It was a Saturday at work. It was kind of slow that day, and I walked by my, this was all over the news, and I walked by my secretary's desk and I saw her laptop sitting there, and I said, this will be fun. I just made a Hunter Biden sticker for the laptop. Then I thought, oh yeah, it could have fallen out of the sky, So I just randomly did it in about 15 minutes right in front of our shop, and just sent it to my guy that puts stuff on Facebook, and it went viral. I mean, it got a lot of hits, and I didn't even expect that. I was just burning time on a Saturday, but it wasn't so much promoting our business. It was just having a little fun with politics, which, again, people need to laugh more. That's what's wrong with this country. We're not laughing enough. We got to, it's so contentious, these issues. And I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, independent, we all need to laugh more. And so I put that stuff out there on our website. We've got it on our Facebook page, and we just, about half of everything we put out there is intended to make somebody laugh a little bit.
Yeah, just bringing some humor to truthful situations, which is a really great way to take a stand and change culture and change minds. I want to pivot a little bit and just get a little bit more serious, get some wisdom from you as a leader in our Fairbanks community and as a successful businessman. I would just like to hear a story from you about a time that you've had to take a stand and how it impacted you or changed you or prepared you as a leader and as a person.
No, I probably started, federal overreach has always been, I'm part of the Laundry House Gang, a group of about 30 up here that have met 42 years in a row every Wednesday. And our big mission is to try and push back on overreach and keep Alaska Alaskan. And so when Jim Wild had that case on the Yukon River where the Park Service tasered him and the guy was just trying to go put meat in the freezer, and they thought he was trying to escape to Canada, and it was just, and we got behind that guy in court. We helped him out financially. This was the predecessing case to the Sturgeon case. And so that kind of overreach where I said, that could have been me. I could have been me going out hunting with my family. And all of a sudden you're being face down in the mud, handcuffed, tasered. What is wrong here? This is not Alaska. This is the Alaska my dad, brought me up in. And so, the next case was the Sturgeon case. And I've seen John Sturgeon up on the Nation River for years. We never talked to each other because we're all doing our own thing. Not many people, he'd run his hovercraft. I ran my jet boat. And it was in 2007, I was up there, and that was the year he got pulled over. And John's really the one that carried the heavy load on this one, because nobody else, I shouldn't say that. I probably would have done the same thing. A lot of people would have looked at the legal cost and just said, it's not worth it. I'm not going to go boating there anymore. But he's one of us. He's one of us that would say, to hell with that. I'm not going to take it anymore, like the guy in the movie says. And John, I remember the Park Service employees telling John, his quote was, you can go ahead and do what you want to do. We've got a room full of attorneys. And he was on the sat phone with his attorney, and he said, we're going to fight this. Go ahead and let him. He couldn't even drive his boat back to the landing. He had to call another boat to have it lifted into that boat to take it back. How ridiculous is that? And that angered him enough where he says, I'm not going to let this go. And I have so much respect for John Sturgeon. And so we helped him raise $1.6 million and 2 unanimous Supreme Court decisions. So that gave us some momentum, even though the Park Service is trying to rewrite all the definitions in there and pretend it isn't so. But that was a big win. And so I was proud to be part of that. And that was probably the big one in my history, is the Sturgeon decision.
Yeah, that was a huge case for state rights. And I appreciate you telling that story. It's just a great example, an inspirational story of how everyday Americans can make an extraordinary difference just by taking a stand for freedom, for truth, and a government led by us, the people, not by the National Park Service and the federal government. Thanks, Craig. We appreciate what you've shared with us. Thanks for being on the show.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Stand by. Welcome back to Stand. You're with Kelly and Josiah Chewbacca. We just finished our interview with Craig Compeau in Fairbanks, who runs Compeau's, COMPEAUS.com, where you can find all your power sports needs. So Josiah, I was super intrigued about Craig's approach to using humor to address his political positions. And one of the things that I really admired is how Craig is bold in taking a stand for what he believes, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help make courage contagious. And first, I think it means taking a stand, actually being vocal about what you believe. I think we have to back up and say before that, what do you believe? What does taking a stand mean? And I think maybe there's a little bit of a gap for that. A lot of people, it seems when I talk with them or even just see stuff on social media, they are happy to be spoon-fed and don't know what they believe. They just regurgitate talking points. So I'll give you an example. I recently saw a video of a young man walking around campuses saying, are you interested in signing our petition to free Palestine? And of course, many of the students on campus were saying yes. And he said, great, I need you to accept these terms and conditions first. So freeing Palestine, when we say things like from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, that means we believe in the elimination of the Jewish population. Can you check here if you believe that? And all of a sudden, these students, were kind of stepping back saying, well, I actually don't fully support that.
Genocide's not cool.
Right. I'm not 100% behind genocide. Well, and then he said, we believe in annihilating anyone in the LGBTQ community, because, of course, Hamas does not support the LGBTQ community. They think they murder those people.
Right. Total self-governance.
Absolutely. And so can you check here? And of course, no, I'm not signing your petition. And he said, well, that's what we believe when we say free Palestine. That's what that means. The people who are leading that cause, that's what they mean. So when I say first taking a stand means, what do you believe? You have to know what you believe, not the slogan phrase of the moment, the fad of the moment that makes a good PR bit. Is not actually a belief system. In order to take a stand for something, it has to stand up to the terms and conditions, for example. Then the second thing I appreciate about Craig is he's willing to pay the price for it. So he knows by going public, as he said, he's gotten the phone calls or the keyboard warriors who've said, I'll never buy from you. It's easy to hate behind a social media avatar. I have a lot of hate botters. When you go in and you actually explore, there's actually no profile and they just formed their Facebook account a minute ago. Thank you, hate bot, delete. So he's willing to take the hate and he's willing to take maybe some customer attrition because of what he's doing. Or, things could get worse, as he pointed out. It could even result in maybe complaints filed or lawsuits filed, but he's willing to incur the price. But as he said, which I thought was interesting, is he's actually gotten more business and more praise for his stance. And I've noticed that too. When you take a stand, those people, even after they pay the price, the benefit is on the other side. But what I really appreciate, so number one, he knows what he believes. Number two, he took a stand for it. Number three, willing to pay the price. Then number four, something that's unique about him is he's integrated humor. He knows how to reach the heart. So it's a lot different to get up and yell at someone, to berate them. I have a hard time listening to what some people would call the talking heads. I would think of them as the yelling heads on TV. Just the sound, it kind of grates at me. I don't know that anyone ever changed anybody's mind by yelling at them. But if you can get them to laugh, get them through irony to see something differently, go, oh, actually, that's a good point. And something I noticed about his ads is while he might have a certain political persuasion, his ads are a little bit universally appealing. I think a lot of people have concerns about more people coming in through our border than did he say the population of 36 states at this point?
Yeah.
Just in the last 3 years. That's what's happened. That's, I think, universally concerning. You don't have to pin the tail on the political spectrum to say I do or don't agree with that. That's just concerning. Or the issue about China spying on us, universally concerning. Some of these issues he's making videos about are universally appealing, or over government regulation that it takes you more than a minute a gallon to empty a fuel container when it could be done in 35 seconds. Is government regulation, the overregulation of government, is universally concerning. So those are some of the things I really admired about the positions he's taking and how he's approaching it.
Yeah, I really respect his courage for just being bold about what he believes and just saying, I'm a conservative, this is what I believe, and there shouldn't actually be any problem with me saying that. I think he's absolutely right when he touched on, we don't laugh enough in this country. We've taken too much to division.
It's almost like it's offensive.
It's offensive.
Yeah, you're a little scared to laugh.
Right. It's offensive to just exist for some people. Me existing of one political persuasion offends half the country, and me existing as the counterpart offends the other half. And I think we really just need to boil it down to it's kind of just like preference. It's kind of vanilla versus chocolate ice cream. Some people think government operates better when it's bigger. Those people are liberals. That's not an issue. Some people think government operates better when it's smaller. Those people are conservatives. These are really just terms used by political science theorists to define different methods of operating government, which is entirely neutral. But I just think that as a country, we need to be more supportive and inclusive in congratulating our very, very brave citizens for coming out with their true political identity. I think if you're in the closet red, come on out. If you're in the closet blue, come on out.
Just be you, boo.
I just want to see everybody come out and show their true colors. Because what I really don't like is rhinos, and what I really don't like are people who are too afraid to take a stand. But just come on out of the closet. Let's celebrate everybody with their different political beliefs, because at the end of the day, none of us actually are offended by how we think government best operates. We're really offended about the emotions tied into the social issues which government has the power to determine.
Sure. And I think there are some people who benefit from so much division in the country. So, there's that. But I have a theoretical question that I've never been able to solve. If a person
2 minutes
who claims that they are Republican, but actually only votes and supports Democrat issues and causes as a rhino, what do we call Democrats who are actually?
Dino.
That's what I've wondered. Are they rhinos and dinos? Because I don't.
Rhinos and dinos, because both are extinct. Well, one of them is nearing extinction.
Okay.
A lot of rhinos are extinct.
My other question for you is...
Some dinosaurs still exist, just like rhinos still exist. So
some dinosaurs. A topic for another day. I think I stepped on a dinosaur at home the other day. That one is now extinct and also put a big injury in my foot. But
I have no idea what that's supposed to mean.
A dinosaur toy. Just like parents step on Legos. That's okay. It wasn't your dinosaur. That's your dinosaurs are long gone. But a serious question for you, because you have these opportunities. You've had these opportunities to talk with these business leaders, and you're looking at getting an MBA here soon. I wanted to kind of get your sense of what was a takeaway you had from your talk with Craig. Like, what did you think differently after talking with a businessman who's taking a stand?
I thought that his business strategy is very well put together in that he knows his market. And
good point.
that is absolutely anyone who's talking to you about business, especially when you're getting started in business, if they tell you anything other than market research, they're lying. Market research is like the most important thing. Know your market, know your consumer, because it's not your product. Your product doesn't matter. You're selling, like, you're not original. I'm sorry, you're not creative. You're selling something that's already being sold. You're just doing it faster, better, or more efficiently. And you need to target people who either want it faster, better, or more efficiently, or just rebrand it. And he's really got his branding down where he says, listen, I know who buys my products. I know who doesn't buy my product. The people sitting here complaining about my ads have never once bought a single thing from me.
They also never will.
And never will. Because they're a keyboard warrior.
Right.
And dudes who live in their mom's basement as Discord mods when they're 30 don't hop on snow machines. I sell snow machines.
Right.
I'm going to go and give a whole can of kicks and giggles to the guy who does hop on snow machines and shoots guns and is probably wearing a MAGA hat and probably watches Stand.
Yeah, actually.
So, a remarkably astute and situationally aware business model.
Yeah, he's talking to people who think and act like him and has the courage to do it, even though there could be a price to pay, which is so much better than just producing your AI generated ad. That's something I was talking to. I'm working on a website right now for another business that we have. And one of the things I'm working on with our website team is we're crafting this bundle of badness is we don't want a website that you could just pop into ChatGPT and say, generate for me another business website. Because so many of these sites I go to, our web developer is saying, hey, can you give me some sites that you like? So many of these sites I go to really look like just any AI generated machine could make this site. I can't distinguish what your company does from any other company. So I want the tone and the flavor of what we do to be different. That's what I hear you saying is something that's so important for businesses who value courage, is having the courage to plant your flag in the sand and say, this is what makes me different. I'm going to capture the market by capturing the hearts of my customers and clients, even if that means a good segment of the population isn't going to like me.
Right. It's a very American and very Alaskan thing to do, to just be genuine and wear your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah, just be out there about it.
Yeah.
Be you, boo. All right. This is another segment of Stand. We'll be right back after this break. You're with Kelly and Josiah Chewbacca, standshow.org. Make sure to hit subscribe during that break. Become one of our standouts. We'd love to have you join our Stand-tastic community. See what I did there? Thanks. I appreciate the giggle. All right. We'll be back. Stand by.
Welcome back to Stand, where we proudly step on dinosaurs. We're here with Kelly and Josiah Chewbacca, and today we are going to continue talking about the market, humor, and politics. So we just finished our interview with Craig Compeau and talked a little bit about stepping on dinosaurs. And one thing that I thought was interesting was that statue, that ice sculpture that he made, because I hadn't heard that story. And I'll be honest, when he said that, one of the only thing that came to my mind was, so how did you keep the pipe from getting hot and melting the ice?
Yeah, great question. We should get him back on and ask that. I imagine that they used some form of insulation because they showed it on national news and it was
right, because it was up for a while.
Super effective. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, maybe that was why Al Gore's mouth was so big in the statue.
Right. Maybe.
Or in the sculpture.
It started normal size and just melted.
Right.
From the smoke. But yeah, really interesting piece of art. And just to think about as a political statement, this idea that people are blowing smoke out of their mouths. And then ironic that he's doing the very thing that they don't want him to do by senselessly pumping gas into the air and emitting carbon emissions. But it's just, for me, it's so interesting, the interplay of free speech over politics, and that's an expression of speech, that's a constitutionally protected right. But I have a feeling that some of our friends in DC who support climate change agendas would try to restrict that and would absolutely tear him down on social media for daring to commit such a treasonous, useless waste of resources and just harming the environment for no reason. So what are your thoughts on just what's the responsible limit of free speech? And then also, what's the responsible limit of limiting free speech? And why do we see such a disregard and disrespect for the First Amendment when it comes to controversial issues?
It's a really good question. We talked a little bit about that during the interview, this encroachment recently by government and especially by the judicial system into what used to be widely recognized, constitutionally protected, not only free speech rights, but I would even say journalism rights. So you'll remember the interview that we did here on Stand with Naomi Wolf. For those who didn't catch it, this was a while ago. She's a journalist who said some pretty, I think, and while the things were controversial, they weren't inflammatory. And she also was canceled. She was dropped by all of her media publications, and her career was totally destroyed by the leftists and progressives who support an agenda rather than support finding the truth. And she was asking a question. She was saying that we need to look into this more. Something's going on. So she was supporting essentially what we would call journalism. And so, and it was on social media. This wasn't something that was published. And it goes to your question of where's that balance? We recently ran into this with our family where I engaged in free speech activities, and then someone filed a frivolous complaint about it before a government commission, and the staff decided that needed to be fined $27,000. And then they offered, well, I could pay the fine, which would have been less than the lawyer fees to challenge it, or we have to fight it all the way. We had to make the tough choice that if we don't fight, the individual doesn't fight against the encroachment by government on free speech rights, then who does? There's not some free speech police that come in and say, oh, did your free speech rights get violated? We're here to rescue you. It was really given to us. The Constitution was given to us by our founders as our right to defend and protect. The problem is that our right to defend and protect it comes at a really big cost, which is part of the reason why I think the Declaration is signed, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. They were foreshadowing to us, by the way, this is what it's going to cost. Yeah. And they ended up paying that price, and we ended up paying a price to defend too. By the way, we were unanimously vindicated at the end that it was free speech rights. The complaint was completely baseless and thrown out, but it came at a cost. And I think that you're right that there shouldn't have been any kind of, the government staff that investigated should have just said at the beginning, this is baseless and thrown it out, and it shouldn't have cost us anything. But it did go all the way, even to the point of us threatening having to take it up to the Alaska Supreme Court in order to get the result that we needed in order to have the outcome that was deserved and just. I think we're seeing this happen all across America right now.
Yeah. There definitely needs to be harsher punishment for parole violators, Steve.
And world peace.
But it's just, I remember there was something, I think it was something that Biden did a couple of years ago. Maybe it was some mandate that he did. And at the time it was extremely controversial. It was probably a COVID mandate. And I remember, I think a couple months later, maybe even up to a year later, it was overturned and deemed unconstitutional.
That's exactly
right. It had already affected and impacted so many things.
You're absolutely right.
So many rights. I remember I was like 14 or 15 at the time, and I just sat there stumped, just like in the thinking man position, like, so which genius brainiac founding father designed the system where we write laws before we determine if we're even allowed to enforce the laws?
So he was of this stuff.
It's not just him. It's laws that are proposed by the legislator all the time, where it's like the Supreme Court literally exists to say, oh, wait, no, these laws are unconstitutional. Like, why do we pass laws and begin enforcing them through the executive branch before we verify that they're actually constitutional through the judicial branch? Shouldn't we have the judicial branch be reviewing these
We
laws?
actually have a legal office in the executive branch that acts as an internal court system to vet. And there also is a legal office in Congress that tells them yes or no. And that is part of our problem in the breakdown right now. You're right on. The problem with this is, so 2 examples. Biden was told, it's not like this stuff's hard. I mean, as someone who went to school a quarter of a century ago to study it, you can smell a rotten constitutional law from a country away. So when they pass something in DC and I'm like, that's not constitutional. It's not like this is hard. Only the hard stuff is supposed to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. Right. And so he wrote this unconstitutional law and was told that's not constitutional. And the response from the administration was, well,
we don't care.
Right. We're going to get as far as we can until the Supreme Court can shut it down, knowing that our judicial system works at the speed of a snail.
That's illegal.
And what's our remedy as people? Our remedy is the ballot box. And that also happens every 4 years. That's also a snail-like process. And to your point, you're here going, wait, wasn't there a law he passed? How many people out there remember? Didn't they intentionally impose unconstitutional laws to push their illegal, unconstitutional agenda on Americans? They intentionally violated the constitutional right of every American and got away with it.
And doesn't that break the oath of office?
And what's the consequence? And similarly, U.S. Congress passed an unconstitutional law, which was overturned, and there was a question posed to one of the leaders of the bill and in the media, and he said, yeah, we think that this is probably unconstitutional, but that's for the Supreme Court to decide. No, it's not. You have an oath and obligation as a leader, I would say as a servant of the people of the United States, to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States above all else. And if you're not going to, then not only have you violated the oath of office, but isn't that somewhere along the line of treason? If you're out there intentionally violating the U.S. Constitution as you fulfill your duties as a representative or U.S. senator, then you need to be kicked out of office. Like, this is what we're supposed to be impeaching people for, not because they called out an illegal association between the Bidens and the leaders of Ukraine, which is now being absolutely substantiated by the bipartisan House Oversight Committee. These are the things that, to your point, what is the remedy for the people? You got me on my soapbox. I'm so glad. Where did that soapbox go? I thought we brought it today. I'm so glad that you pointed out the fact that as people who are supposed to be leading the government of the United States, we really don't have much opportunity to hold the legal counsel in the Department of Justice and the legal counsel for U.S. Congress, and the White House counsel's office accountable for giving them the legal advice necessary, enforcing good legal advice, and instead waiting for the U.S. Supreme Court, who, by the way, right now, I think is actually doing a pretty good job of coming out with balanced judicial opinions. Some of our circuit courts are still leaving a little bit to be desired, but on balance, the U.S. Supreme Court seems to be coming out with protecting the Constitution.
Lately, yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought it's been very solid, and I think one of the issues that I'll just touch on, because I don't care about the future and what people think about me, is just January 6th, and everyone gets so touchy whenever anyone brings up January 6th and the quote unquote riots, and I don't understand that at all, because for me it's just like, say whatever you want about who was rioting and what groups they were a part of and who dressed up as who. For the large part, it was mostly peaceful, and also they were all allowed into the Capitol, and
by Capitol Police.
And also, regardless of what you like, there's no such thing as an insurrectionist in America. And I think the remedy for this issue, where government moves too slow, but also people are wildly, frequently abusing the Constitution and destroying the country that has been created and the values we've all agreed upon, is when government becomes destructive to these means and ends, it is the right and obligation of the people to establish a more perfect government.
And where do you get that from?
That is from the Declaration of Independence.
You have a moral obligation to take a stand for your country and to improve government. And as you said, it's laid out in the Declaration of Independence of what we have to do when our government is refusing to be held accountable to the people. Yeah. As we know here in America, the government only gets its power from the consent of the governed. So when that is no longer happening, then there has to be a means to hold them accountable. Otherwise, we just slip into another autocracy, another tyranny, another
Britain. Monarchy.
Another monarchy, another form of government that's already been tried and failed. And we know what that looks like. And we are contending for a form of government that is led and governed by the people, who are inherently powerless other than by a group of elected leaders who are held accountable by the people. So this has been another episode of Stand. You're with Kelly and Josiah Chewbacca. You can find us at standshow.org. Catch us next week. And same time, same place, social media, TV, and radio. Standshow.org. We'll see you then. Make sure to hit subscribe, become one of our standouts, and catch Alan Dershowitz with us June 27th in Anchorage. You can get your tickets online. Thanks so much.